How we doing? We're Polaris.
And you are watching Crowded Music.
We're here with guys from Polaris. How you lot doing?
What's up? Good.
You basically just got here, so
Yeah.
and since this is like the early bird day of the festival, we can't ask. So, how you been? Who you seen so far?
Yeah.
Doing any good yet? So we'll just get straight into it.
Cool.
So we're coming up to the end of the album cycle, obviously. Mortal Coil. I didn't realise it dropped like almost 2 years ago. I thought it came out last year, not the year before. So,
Cool.
Sick album. But,
Thank you.
Yeah, how does it feel like reflecting on this? Yeah, just this whole album cycle in general, because it's been like a pretty big year for you guys. This is like your breakout album, probably.
It's funny you saying that it felt like it came out last year, because pretty much that's what it feels like for us from how much like touring we've done from it. It honestly feels like it's been non-stop the past nearly 2 years now.
Last year was like the craziest year of our lives.
Yeah.
Like so much going on. We were just barely off the road for more than a few weeks at a time, and like every tour that we did kind of felt like the next step from the last one. It was really good. It just felt like everything was building really nicely and consistently through the year. So by the end of the year we'd ticked off all these things that we just never imagined we would have got, even over like the course of 2 or 3 years. So it was just such an intense kind of ride through the year, and we just had such a good time. It's been a real crazy year and a half, especially
seen a lot of places we never thought we would, and toured with some bands and played some shows with some big festivals, and tours with some bands that we never expected we ever would, or at least not this early in our band's career, I guess. But
I feel like it's
been wild.
It was especially because we started the album cycle literally the day the album came out was like the day of our first show in Europe.
Yeah, we're in Hamburg.
Hamburg on the Never Say Die tour, and it was just this wild thing of like, holy shit, we've just done the thing that we've been trying to do for like years. We've finally done the LP, the first one, and then we're like literally on the brink of our first European tour, and everything just kind of and then within the year of that, like we were just now we're like, this is our 4th European tour now since then. So that's been really weird to just have this become like a regular part of our routine, is coming to Europe like every few months, and that's so crazy because that's just a thing that's now happened in the last year and a half.
I think as well, like being from Australia and all that, there's only so much of one country we can tour to death.
Yeah,
especially Australia. It's so small.
When we first started touring, I think we got to a point where I think we did a max of about 4 tours in a year back home, and then we came to Europe, and then now this is our fourth time over here in Europe within just about a year and a half.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like, before it was like, there was a slight routine. It's like, every 3 to 4 months we'd go back out on the road. So we'd have a lot of downtime back home to write, relax, do everything else that we needed to do with the band, and see our families and, be normal for once. Whereas now it's like, we do say like, for example, we come overseas and we come back home, then like usually a week or 2 later we're doing an Australian run, and then we might
It's been hard to get used to that.
Go somewhere else, and then we come back again. And
obviously that's kind of like what we've been waiting for, is like that, to be able to tour consistently, because it's what we want to do. But it's been a big adjustment, like getting used to that thing of like, and like we've gone through a lot of change in our lives as well. Like several of us have moved, like got back from an American tour, and several of us moved out of home at the same time, and like went through like some big just big changes. And we're like, wow, we're barely even home to like enjoy this stuff at home. But it is still great, like to be so busy and stuff, because it's kind of what we're aiming for.
It's like going back to what you said as well, when the album came out, straight in the deep end. And like all the shows as well, these are some of the biggest shows you've done today, like back in Australia and here as well. The T-shirt obviously does it, the Architects.
Was...
I mean, they are the biggest shows they've done today as well.
Ridiculous,
they were playing almost arena-sized level.
Well, it was a definite fully arena-sized level on some shows. We were like, for us to like witness that as well, it's like we got to like share in them doing their own biggest thing, which is like a magical thing to just like watch one of your favorite bands like take a step and be like, oh wow, and I get to witness it every night. Like that's the sickest thing, because they were like, it was such a big tour for them as well. That was mind-blowing to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And like going back to as well, like just the caliber of the show is getting bigger and everything. What's next for like touring? What more can you guys do in terms of like a live show then?
Next year,
in terms of a live show for us, like I guess there's a lot we can do to step up. I guess
we're only just kind of cracking the surface. I think in terms of
our last headliner, was the longest. Our headline tour back home was the longest set we'd ever done. For a tour, and you know, we introduced a little bit of pyro. We had like 2 different confetti cannon
pyro,
shots and
but
stuff.
yeah,
Like, you know, like that kind of production. Sorry,
Yeah,
is
we
the
had
right word.
we brought a big lighting rig on that tour as well, and it's like that's been the cool thing about like last year we did multiple headline tours at home, and each time we tried to kind of just like work out what we could add to the show.
Kind of step it up a little bit with our lighting and stuff. Yeah.
By the end of last year when we did that Australian tour, we were like playing in some theaters that we just had not ever imagined we would hit at that point. So we really took out like a good rig, took a really great crew with us, and had really good lighting, and we were able to introduce that kind of stuff. And now it's like, I guess it just really depends for us what happens next year. I guess with what we do with the next record and stuff like that, like whenever that happens. But I think there'll be like, we definitely want to having been out with Architects, and then we did a couple of runs with Parkway, and then we've been over here doing these festivals, and we've seen what the bands at the top end that we really love are putting into their live show, and how carefully planned and considered it is, and how big of a spectacle it is. And now it's like, oh cool, now there's so much to kind of learn from that. And I think
I want to take from that and like hopefully bring that home into
in any
what
small
we
level
do with
we
our
can.
set.
For what's feasible at the moment.
Of course.
You can't go straight to rotating flaming drum kits, and we can't go straight to that. But no, it's been awesome. Just getting an idea of there's so much out there that you can add to a show if you feel like it.
Yeah.
Is there any what's the main difference for you guys when you're preparing for, say, a tour back home and then coming over to the UK for like shows like this and everything?
There's not really a difference. I mean, the main difference for me, I guess, like with the stage talk is, I guess, you know, a lot of places we play over here, English isn't necessarily like the main language. So, you know, speaking a little bit slower than I usually do. But in terms of
always takes a few days to slow down and get comfortable.
I don't really think I talk fast, but then I hear myself back on some videos. I'm like, oh Jesus, I don't even know what I said there.
Australians do notoriously talk fast too. So
but in terms of us just
we can keep
preparing for
you
a
guys
set,
are fine.
though,
Americans don't always find us a bit fast, I think.
It's usually the same kind of preparation. You know, we ideally rehearse on the coming month or weeks up to the tour, and you know, plan out the set, get everything, talking points down, changeovers down, and just make sure the set feels really natural.
It always kind
you
of
don't want to get up there and feel awkward. You want to just get out there and everything runs smoothly, and the show to be as smooth and as professional as possible.
It just depends on what kind of tour it is and like what we've been doing before it as well. Because some tours we'll have like 2 months at home, and we'll be rehearsing a lot leading up. Sometimes we've just come back from another tour and say we're going in from a support tour into a headline tour. Maybe with only a couple of weeks or a week to kind of prep for it, depending on how busy we've been before it. So that's been the weird thing, is kind of adjusting to like, sometimes you need to prep a big show in a short time and kind of get the flow of that down. And then
the weirdest
this run's been like weird because we come over here and we're doing a different show every night.
So this has been the most
a 45-minute set, a 40-minute set, and then an hour set, and then a half-hour set. Like consecutive days in a row, we're changing anywhere between half an hour to an hour 15 each night. And that was kind of, we've never done a run quite like that where there's that much variation. So just getting our heads around how each set flows, not thinking about what you did last night.
And just like reading the set list and be like, all right, this is tonight. Don't think about anything else. This is tonight.
We're quite habitual on.
I've done that before. It was really awkward.
We never even used to take set lists on stage with us until recently, until we had to start doing stuff like that. We used to just usually always have the set list super up in our heads.
It's so funny. Like people are like, can I get a set list? I'm like, I haven't got one.
Yeah, we don't.
It's up here. Like,
now we have to have them because it's really easy to just go into your habitual flow of how you go into the next song, and then it's like, oh no, we've done 5 different sets in the last few days, like I can't screw this up.
Oh, that's cool, man. But also going back to earlier, we're talking about, obviously we're coming up to the end of the album cycle and everything, so there's obviously a new album coming.
Is there? Is there obviously? Shit, man, you've been hearing some stuff.
But as far as, what's the update on that record then? That you're allowed to talk about anyway? Like, is it written, recorded?
I'd say we're like in the process of it.
We're in the process of it.
Thick of it at the moment.
It's being written. We can say it's being worked on. It's just like it's really hard to put figures or like dates on anything because like I said, like we were just so much more busy than we really anticipated over the last year and a half, and we managed to we did get good at like pumping out a few ideas here and there on the road. Like on the Architects tour, I was programming a lot of guitar ideas and drum ideas into a laptop and stuff like that, just messing around with some like new software and plugins, trying to like just keep things moving. And then we got home, and for the first time in a little while, because between Architects to now, we've only had a couple of short runs. We had a Japan run and we had Download Australia, and that was like a decent few months at home to actually kind of dive deeper into some new material.
Yeah.
So like that's the first big stint we've had, kind of really since the record cycle started. So and we've been assembling ideas over time, but that was like we definitely got a little bit more of a crack into it now. So it just depends how we go over the next year. We're not trying to like rush anything because we really know that like we just want the product to be right.
Yeah.
So
do you reckon there's any sort of maybe like leftover ideas maybe you had with Mortal Coil?
There were,
there
were one or two things that
potentially.
songs that were
there's
little-
always with us. We always tend to have a bit of a riff graveyard with a lot of our song
Everyone
files.
does
and
Yeah,
that.
the riff graveyard is a big
there,
place.
There were a couple of songs that may eventuate from what didn't make it on the Mortal Coil. Maybe not. We'll see how that goes.
It's
I
like
guess.
sometimes the stuff gets left over and you kind of look back at it and you go, maybe you're sad about it at the time that it didn't make the record, but then you look
then
back
maybe
at it a
there's
few
a
months
reason
later and
why
you go,
it didn't make it on
there's
the
a
record
reason
as
that
well.
maybe it wasn't original enough or maybe it was just not the right vibe, but then there are other things that maybe they were a great idea that just didn't have time to evolve into what it needed to be.
Yeah, it needed more time to work on it. Yeah.
With time, but we've kind of been able to sometimes go back to those things and turn them into a more developed and realised idea that turns out to be really great. So yeah, I think there might be some things from that. Yeah.
Go back to what you said just now about there's a reason you couldn't have made it on the album. One thing I liked about the album, like, it's just how like consistent it is for
thank you.
Like each song flows very well. But do you reckon there's any tracks like looking back you're like, oh, should that have like could we left that as a B-side or something? I don't know.
I'm not too sure. Like I was a little nervous with how, like you're saying, like the album flows really well. Like to me, I kind of was a bit like, is the album a bit all over the place? We got one song that's like kind of in this vein, and then the next song is different, and the next song's different.
We try to separate them stylistically a bit.
A lot of people like yourself have said that it just flows, and it just there's a lot of consistency with it, which I guess from being on our side of things, not the listener, don't really see it like that.
It's nice to hear that.
It's very comforting that
genuinely.
keeps coming back because
like, even with the EP or mini album, whatever you.
The Guilt and
that's
Grief.
sort of- yeah, that's the same like thing really. Like,
Yeah, cool.
Just each track, it is a body of work, and that's sort of how you sort of should listen to it.
Well, that's how we kind of try to make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
we want them to stand alone, but also we want the album as a whole to make sense. But we definitely, it's always nice to hear that feedback because we can, every time we approach a song, we try to spread ourselves off in between, like, try to write in as many different keys and tempos as we can to really separate the identities of the songs and make the moods a little bit different rather than just kind of like, pummeling the same kind of chords over and over again in the different songs and stuff like that. So then sometimes we do get to this place where like, does this album sound like the same band between each song? And then once it's nice to like, once it's not until it's really fully mixed and mastered and it all sounds uniform in that way that you can sit back and appreciate it. But in regards to what you're saying about like things that we regret, I think it's almost the opposite for me. Is I tend to, as time goes on, I become more accepting of the album rather than regretting things later on. I tend to usually come out of an album, I think most of us are like this, we get to the end of the album recording time, and as we're getting it mixed, we're like, did we do it right? Was this the right decision? Should that
Very
part have gone there? Is that a good lyric?
Situation.
Is this mix really where it needs to sit? And then it's once you finally get it to that point, it's usually a few months on, usually around the time that the record comes out. Usually, hopefully, most of us have reached a point where we've stopped being crazy and we've gone, we did okay. This is good. And that's when it actually gets easier. Then I think there's a lot more overthinking and doubt as soon as you come out of the studio. And then you get a little bit of time and distance from it, and you accept that the songs are what they are now. They're not something that can change. They're an entity that exists now, and it's out for the people to consume, and that's kind of really, really cool. Once you can go, well, that's the product now. Whatever happens, that's it. So like, I kind of like that when you get to that stage.
That's sick, man. But are there any sort of differences in the writing for this new record? Obviously, you said you're like halfway, or you're working on it. But compared to Mortal Coil, is there any different approaches you've taken to the songwriting?
Well, I mean, there's definitely been a lot more with writing on the road.
Yeah, I mean,
like with Daniel's usually the one on his laptop. He's got a program that he's usually programming like MIDI guitar and stuff and working out riffs, and then that'll usually get to a point where when we do get home that'll like Rick or Dan will sit down with a guitar and actually work it out and actually make it more into a song.
That's been interesting because like it's in some ways a little bit of a throwback to like writing like that's a bit of a throwback to how we started.
Guitar Pro,
because we used to write in Guitar Pro software, just tabbing and listening back to it, and then we moved on to like the Guilt and the Grief and Mortal Coil were basically written like 90%, 95% guitar in hand, like tracking into a computer, tracking demos as we went. And so with this one, like we're still doing that a lot, obviously, but there has been a bit of a return to that, sometimes having to imagine guitar parts without a guitar in hand. And then, yeah, a surprising amount of like ideas that seem to have become solid have come out of some of those programmed ideas, which is cool. But then we do have to get home and make sure it translates to a real guitar, work out how to appropriately fit it to the guitar so that it grooves as well as it can. Because sometimes my ways of programming guitars, because I'm not really a very crash hot guitarist, my ideas of programming guitar usually can be a little bit weird and take a little bit of adaptation to make them.
So how am I supposed to play this again?
Yeah, because it's not me that's going to have to play it, it's the other boys, so I have to kind of like try and keep asking them, is this going to work? Like,
they'll be like, this sounds good, and then Rick will be like, yeah, but you...
Yeah, I don't have
human hand can't do
9
that.
fingers or something. So yeah, sometimes there's a bit of that. But I think the other thing is there's like, as with every record we do, I think we get a greater sense of like how far we can stretch this side of our sound and this side of our sound, and kind of like push it in all the different directions. So like, we see ourselves as kind of like, you know, we're like at the core of it, we're just a metalcore band, but we like to push like the kind of the post-hardcore end of our sound a little bit. We like to push into the heavier, more technical side of stuff sometimes, and often also like push a lot further into like the rock side and all of that. So like, because we have a lot of like just like big rocky elements and stuff, and I think we've stretched the rock side a lot on this record, but we've also written some like surprisingly heavy stuff that we kind of wouldn't have anticipated writing a few years ago. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's quite diverse because no one wants to hear the same fucking song over and over again.
We sure as hell don't as well.
Yeah.
So.
We're just trying to create different moods, I think.
Yeah.
It's like,
what about like for you lyrically then, like writing? Is there any sort of?
Well, this guy's our lyric guy right
yeah,
here.
that's
Yeah. I'd like to say we work together, but
we
Daniel's
do.
pretty much the brains and everything behind the lyrics, and then once he's got like a general topic that he's going for, like a paragraph or two of lyrics, then that's usually when we might come together and try to flesh out the rest of it, really. But yeah, Daniel's the brains of all our lyrics.
The approach is often like I'll come up with a few lines usually on my own, just whatever seems to fit naturally, and then I'll bring it to the guys, and I might have anywhere between 3/4 of a song to like literally like one little paragraph, anywhere in that range. But we'll sit down and kind of, once we start kind of spitting the lines over, sitting there hitting replay on the track and trying to talk lines over it in a different way every time until something sits right, and adding
like da 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 out like
da da da's
and stuff, like
whispering just making patterns and stuff and trying to see what you'd really want to spit
what
over
feels
it.
natural and what feels right for the song, I guess.
And so then because often then Jamie's approach to how he would tend to tackle a section rhythmically might be somewhat different to how I was imagining it, and so then we can kind of meet in the middle and try and come up with lyrics that fit that. But
I'm sorry, but I feel for you guys, melody is also quite key. On
very important.
Songs, like not just the music, but like lyrically as well.
Well, like
the vocal lines are normally like super different. Like, there's a couple songs that are on the record which like they're not the same, but they fit. You know what I mean? So you're playing someone else and you're singing it like differently.
Oh, like as in flowing like differently. Sometimes I mean, it's fun. I guess that's the thing with metalcore is like you can do it in any genre, but like we take a lot of inspiration from, I don't know, from bands that have a bit more bounce in the vocals. Like I listen to a lot of hip hop as well, and then even some of just them, and I try to kind of incorporate that into how I write like rhythms for Jamie, and like just trying to make sure that, because I don't know, it's just a different energy to it, I think, when the vocals make you want to move as much as the instruments do.
That's the hook at the end.
Exactly. I think you can make like vocal hooks and instrumental hooks that really kind of flow over each other and like counterpoint each other as well. Give it kind of like a double layer of energy to it, which is really kind of fun.
Yeah.
Do you have like a exact idea, like when you're writing like the words, how it's gonna like sound? So how you're like how you're gonna sing it?
Majority of the time, Dan will be like, I want this section to be kind of like this, and then often when the music, it's usually when we're in this, because we like to, or this time around we've tried to pre-pro a lot more like vocally than we have in the past. Because we want to really experiment like with my voice and push myself a lot more and
find new
But
sounds
it's usually when we're actually in the studio that we'll knuckle down to it and be like, no, I feel it should be a bit more like this. Because then this section, which we may not have had written beforehand, this section is going to be a bit more like this, so it has to, kind of ebb and flow a bit. And
definitely the sound of the vocals is like when I'm writing the lyrics is very important though, like because I'm not like sometimes I'll write lyrics and then when we go to put them down, if we don't get the right take, it's almost like, nah, these lyrics only work if you sing them like this. Like sometimes it just has to be articulated or expressed in a certain pitch, or there has to be if you don't get the emotion behind the lyrics right, it can come across as completely contrived, I think. And that's
sometimes you have to yell at them.
That's the other thing is I've sometimes written lines down and I'm like, I know this looks cheesy on paper, but if you make it sound when you get it in his voice, can be really convincing, and sometimes that's a real fun game of like how far can we push these lyrics, how weird can we make them, or like what's something that we wouldn't normally say or you wouldn't expect to read on paper, but it just works if you get the take right and pull it off convincingly.
We won't keep you for too long.
No, you're fine.
No worries at all. No worries at all.
We're almost at the end, but we like to ask like bands as well every time into any like what are you guys listening to at the moment? Is there anything new? Or you can do.
What are you listening to at the moment?
Do you have Spotify?
We can. Yes.
Do you have it on your phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Spotify has changed. The whole
Spotify,
recently listened is gone now, so I can't tell you that.
I'll tell you, my new, like, as of like 3 days ago, the band that I'm listening to the most is Turnstile. I saw them play at Jarrett on Air Festival, and it blew my fucking mind. And I met them after the set, and they were lovely dudes. They were the coolest guys, and I hadn't seen them before. I'd checked out like a couple of songs of theirs, and I hadn't quite clicked, but I thought it was kind of cool. And everyone told me that they were like one of the best live bands I should go see, and I watched them from side stage, and I was just blown away, and I went and I've listened to basically nothing but Turnstile for the last 3 days, so that's my new recommendation.
I've pretty much just been jamming Miley Cyrus's newest EP pretty much on repeat since that came out, and Curtis, our sound guy, put me onto what's her name? Alina Baraz, I think her name is. Very chill kind of music, which is really different for me because I'm normally just like deathcore kind of stuff. So I'm back to listening to a lot of Childish Gambino at the moment because he's coming out. Keen to see him.
He's coming out for Splendor in the Grass in Australia, which is in a couple of weeks, which I'm going to. So I'm very hyped for that. That and the new Foles stuff as well. Yeah. Big loving Foles at the moment.
Definitely.
Should we shout out some bands from back home as well?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say as well. Yeah.
Gravemind. They're about to release the heaviest record of the year.
We should go
I'm
to
saying
tech
it right
bands
now.
first.
Listen to
tech metal
Gravemind.
fans. UK tech metal fans should listen to Gravemind. They should listen to Alpha Wolf.
Yes.
They should listen to Above Below.
Yes.
Anyone at this festival I reckon would dig Above Below. They're super sick.
Yeah.
They're from Sydney, good friends of ours. Pride Lands, Stepson.
Yep. Represent.
Stepson. Yeah. Who else is back home?
Void Division.
Void Division is sick, yeah.
I just have one on the tip of my tongue. Boys in Diamond Construct as well.
Diamond Construct is cool. Yeah.
Very techy.
I'm just trying to think. Bellhaven.
Yes.
Great band.
Yes.
Justice for the Damned. Absolutely.
They got new stuff in the works as well.
I think that,
Yeah, you know them?
Yeah, they.
Yeah.
Who did they
They're
tour
terrific.
with?
They came over here with Die Artist Murder once.
Yeah.
And then they were just over here
like a month ago, I think.
Fit for an Autopsy.
Yeah. And
they're fucking terrific. Sydney band as well. Ambleside. Throwing in a few more of like the punk and melodic hardcore scene.
The biggest list we've ever had so far.
We can sit here for days.
We can keep going, man.
Just get put on the spot. I'm like, oh god damn, who?
Yeah, because we start feeling guilty that we've missed some of the boys, and it's like
we'll listen back and be like,
boys and the girls.
In the comments, but listen to these guys.
Yeah. Don't forget these, and these guys are like 5 comments later, and these guys too.
There's some really good stuff coming out at the moment as well. Like the pop punk scene at home is doing great. Like yours truly and like Stand Atlantic. Are fucking massive right now.
They just toured over here as well. Yours truly did download on that.
Yours truly,
a couple of shows with Sum 41 and that.
It was. Yeah, no, it's going really well at home at the moment. We're stoked to see everybody's popping up.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for having us.
No worries at all.
Anything you're allowed to say? You've got look shit to the camera.
We will have.
When does this come out? It comes out in
we
August.
We will have a European tour being announced at some point soon that I think people will be really excited about, especially if they're fans of this kind of music. Some really good bands on it. There will be some UK.
Yes, there should be.
It's like there's a European tour. So get excited about that. We're coming back, and then we'll be back again next year.
Yeah, early
as
next
soon as we can.
Year-ish, hopefully.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff in the works. Like we've got a few things like on the horizon for Europe that we're really excited about.
Yeah.
So we definitely don't plan to slow down on the visits here anytime soon.
Yeah, that's about it, really. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're stoked, man. We love it here. Like, and especially after like after how amazing these fests have been, and London headline show was like seriously
Incredible.
like the coolest thing we've done overseas.
I felt like we
Sold
were,
out as
well.
yeah, I felt like we were
Insane.
back home in Sydney. That's
Yeah.
the vibe was just.
It was wild. It's like that's the kind of literally we only started playing shows like I think we hit that kind of type of show in Sydney only like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. So now come over to London and be able to play a show like that is mind blowing. So,
Yeah.
which I like to tell.
Hopefully
Yeah.
more of that to come very soon. Hopefully. Yeah.
Again, thanks for taking time.
Awesome.
to talk to us.
No worries at all.
Polaris, you know them.